Keep the good times poppin'. Pop, pop, pop.
Here we are. Def check number 16. Set number 1906. A very good vintage. Majisto's Tower. We're in the fantasy era, full force here with a dragon chariot out front. Got our very cool dragon masters. Look at that smile.
Oh man, and look at that mustache. Oh, how cool. They wanted more banter.
When they said more banter, they were talking to you.
Oh man, just look at that chariot. I'll bet
with those wings he could go
like
super
100 miles
fast.
an hour.
0 to 60 in 2 shakes of a wizard's glow-in-the-dark star staff.
Is it a wand or a staff?
I
think it's a wand. Perhaps it's like a sword dagger type qualifier.
None of that made sense to me.
Well, I mean, so you got your sword, you got your dagger. You know what I mean? Or
Oh,
the same item, essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
But it's based on size.
So he's got this gravity-defying whip there on the side, and a spear. A spear,
Are you
too.
sure it could be wire art?
So I think, it could be. It could be of a circle on the end of a squiggle.
Ah.
I think Majisto then is shown here to be a user of weapons as well as magic. He's got that spear there.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
So you don't suppose that is just part of the chariot? Perhaps.
Well, because it's different on both sides, and it's just a clip. I think it is
Okay.
a takey-offable thing. Well, just because if they put the clip the other orientation, it would drag along the floor.
This is one of the first times that we see fire used as torches.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. Nice innovation there.
In Castle. We saw it in Fort Legoretta, but in
True,
Castle.
that's
In
true.
Castle.
Well, without further ado, let's dive in. Beginning with accessibility, we have inaccessible arrow loops, as you can see on the side and front of Majisto's tower.
I think this is another moment where you could ask, which tower is it? Is it this foremost tower? Is it the side turret? Is it this tower with the big red and living quarters and balcony?
I'm banking on the red,
Yeah.
the red-topped tower.
You could call it Majisto's Towers.
Speaking of that tower, we have inaccessible tower tops. So any of those crenellated portions of tower are basically impossible to get to. That being said, there is the ladder inside the frontmost tower.
Speaking of the...
I think we already mentioned that it has the living quarters. So I think...
Did we mention that there were living quarters? The living quarters are actually pretty cool. I don't know if this is supposed to be some kind of fireplace, but it's a little stone table with a goblet oh so sumptuous and a cool pot.
Oh yeah, and it seems to be a staple thus far with the Dragon Masters, particularly with Majisto, to introduce odd stair pieces. In the last one they had the straight staircase, whereas in this one it's the spiral.
Ah, yeah.
The wizardry of stairs.
Well, you'd need it to get up those. No studs.
Ooh, it's a slippery slope. Accessibility, -2, +2, net 0. On to defensibility.
There's not really a back wall, and there are stairs that go right up to the keep from that opening, more than just the flame pieces remind us of Fort Legoretta.
The crenellation height is poor. The mold that is used for the prefabricated rampart is naturally too short.
Now, I will note that it was used to very good effect in this front tower. It's almost the right height. In fact, the crenellations are of a good height, though the merlons are very short.
I think there's a similar situation for that balcony.
This entrance is not terribly defensible. There's no walkways around it, and if there were, the crenellations would be oh so short. And there's not a good way to cover it from the other towers either.
There's also many blind spots. The tower placement is not that great.
There are rock walls in the way. The whole front tower has no windows in it whatsoever.
So we've talked about half tower designs. This is probably the worst implementation that we've seen up to this point, because anybody who's up there, up top, can just get shot in the back.
There is no back wall, and so the back of that entire tower is exposed, including the top. So anybody who should be up there can be shot in the back, kind of like King's Mountain Fortress. However, there is a designated keep, and with the stairs facing away from your entrance, you have no surefire way to make it up to that topmost tower. You have to work your way around the entire courtyard, so that's good.
So I was reading in a book that when you're building a spiral staircase inside of a tower, you want to have it rotating clockwise, so that way people coming up cannot easily swing their sword, assuming that they're right-handed. And this is indeed a clockwise rotating staircase.
Whatever you have to say about the piece, it's a pretty good design, defensibility-wise.
Defensibility, -5, +1, -4. On to offensibility.
There are not enough arrow loops. This is a pretty big...
It's not small.
Yeah, there are swaths of un-arrow-looped spaces, which means there are swaths of spaces, so it's not that small, and it has unjustifiably few arrow loops. 2 for the whole thing.
And one of them is more of a window. We do have working machicolations for the balcony flanking the living quarters. So that's pretty awesome. It seems to be that little tower back there has been kind of the saving grace, because it provided stairs, living quarters, good balcony, working machicolations, decent crenellations. Like, good job on that little red tower. Good job.
Good job.
The little red tower that could.
Ah, Majisto's tower.
Wow. As of right now, offensibility, -1, +1, net 0. On to auxiliary graces. So our initial total is -4.
What can we do? Well, this is the first time we have ever seen an inadequate garrison. We have seen ample garrisons and adequate garrisons, but this is not enough. 2 soldiers is not enough for this keep.
We do have the wizard, though.
Ah.
So he provides an offensive advantage.
And not only have we the wizard, we have the wizard's chariot.
So he's a fast wizard.
Ah, yes, chariots of fire.
Our final total, -3. This castle does not pass.
I don't know how many of us were expecting it to, but it didn't do as bad as I thought.
Yeah, no, it's still better than the 90th anniversary castle.
Well, it doesn't take much.
Ooh, Baraka Stronghold. We should look at that.
Oh, yes, the Paraka Stronghold.
Alright, well, there you have it. Majisto's Tower.